know that this chair is big enough for the two of us, dude. Like, Oliver's great with it, and you're making my life way more difficult right now. This is distracting. I need you to go. I love you. Let's cuddle in a little bit. Okay, bye. Hey there, welcome back. What is my hair doing? I don't know. You tell me. We're here in the same spot as the last video. I really liked filming there, and I'm still open to hearing what you guys think about that this location. So, apologies ahead of time if I fuss too much with my hair, as it is trying to decide if it wants to be bangs. I don't know. So, there. We'll just let this be. I look like I've come to haunt you from a different era, but okay. Anyway, so hi. What do I have for you today? We've got Bella Thorne and my thoughts on her, which we've never talked about on this channel, I don't think, as well as a couple of questions that I've gotten from you guys. One being my thoughts on Trisha and Moses's engagement, I think. I'm going to revisit the question and make sure that I'm answering it properly. And then another one kind of related to mental health and my opinions. And again, I'll keep kind of that more personal stuff towards the end so that those of you who are here for YouTube commentary can get that and then go. That sounds like I'm dismissing you. I'd like for you to stay, but if you gotta go, I get it. So, Bella Thorne. I usually could not give a rat's, I'm messing with my bangs again, my goodness. I typically don't give a rat's rear end about Bella Thorne. Tana Mongeau, really, I mean, there are times that I like her. She's been really not very likable in the past several months. Will occasionally watch a Tana Mongeau video, but to be honest with you, they just sound a lot like noise, and so I can't really casually watch them ever. But I did notice that a lot of drama channels were mentioning that Tana really kind of laid it out about Bella Thorne, kind of exposed her in one of these most recent videos, and I'm not sure if I clicked on the right one, but I did see that Tana and her friends reacted to a song that Bella Thorne wrote about Tana, a diss track more or less, called Stupid Effing B. Earlier on in my videos, I have to make sure that I'm censoring my words. Bella wrote this song about Tana, and this is one of those situations where when I watched it, I was just so on the side of Tana and her friends, because Bella Thorne, I'm sorry, is just such a joke. Such a joke. And I think that, in the last video, we talked about Jeffree Star being a YouTuber who is so hell-bent on being a celebrity. I think with Bella Thorne, you have a washed-up celebrity trying desperately to make people think that she is still a mainstream celebrity, that she's still relevant, famous, whatever word you want to use. And I think that is just laughable. I don't know if maybe I'm just missing something, because she is a little bit younger than me, and I know that she was in the media a good bit in kids movies / shows that were a little after my time. So a lot of people who watch YouTube grew up with her as kind of a child celebrity they knew. Side note, I really, really love the show Big Love on HBO, and she did play a character in that show, which was very weird, but that's a whole other thing. Maybe we'll talk about fun shows later on when my channel welcomes me to talk about things other than YouTube. But I want to be I need to stop being so handsy when I talk if I'm going to have a mic right here. But I want to be careful with how I say this, because Bella Thorne is objectively a beautiful woman, physically beautiful woman. However, I find her essence to be so off-putting. And since I've seen her kind of in the YouTube space, dating Tana Mongeau, I think a couple years ago it was, I was just oh, is this the new Bella Thorne? This is kind of what we see when child stars don't kind of properly and effectively translate their careers and their lives into adult stardom in a way that looks like they've been able to maintain their sanity through it all. As an example, I think Zac Efron is a really good example of somebody who was a child star and made a transition into more, I don't want to say adult content, but more mature roles, without there being some sort of like really troublesome in between, or without him seeing super like disheveled and bothered and what we see with a lot of child stars. And I don't want to get this conversation into something that I didn't mean for it to, but that's how I operate. So Bella Thorne, to me, just like a lot of child stars, looks to me like as she grew into an adult, just kind of fell apart. That's what it looks like to me in these past couple of years. She looks like somebody that I would not want to get too close to because I would be afraid that I would smell 3 days worth of partying and who knows what. She doesn't look to me like somebody who keeps up with her personal hygiene.
I don't really wash my face in the morning.
So I did find it very ironic when she put out that like skincare routine video where she's like,
so I have to be constantly exfoliating these layers. That's one thing that chemicals will really never fix for us. So that's why I like the all natural route. We make quite a few different scrubs. This is the lemon and sugar olive oil mix.
Here's this like scrub that I make to scratch up and bloody my face every day, and you should too. That whole thing was weird. But now she's put out this music video, and I'm sure to some extent I was biased by essentially watching that with the party opposed to that, right? It was a diss track on Tana, and it was Tana and her friends that I essentially watched the video with. But the criticisms they gave her, I was like, yeah, that's all fair. I remember Tana's friend Amari kind of talking about some of the ways that he's kind of clapped back at Bella Thorne on Twitter, kind of in defense of Tana. And I will say that regardless of what we think of Tana, her other friends, Bella Thorne, I really, really like Amari. When I first watched Tana's videos, I mean, like I said, I haven't watched a ton, but I did watch Reality House season 2. I watched both seasons, but he was on Reality House season 2, and I really got to see him more on his own, away from Tana and that group. And he really showed to be not only just like a really like kind of nice and down to earth kind of guy, but I found him to be extremely intelligent, which for me explains why I find him to be so funny. His off-the-cuff jokes are just, they hit the nail on the head, and regardless of whatever is going on with Tana, I know that I'm going to find whatever Amari says to be entertaining. Maybe I'll play a clip here of the things that Amari said, just for the sake of appreciating him.
I said, wish you the absolute best, girly, and I added her at Bella Thorne, but I'm not going to sit back and watch you call my best friend a stupid fucking bitch. And I know she saw that shit, because I'm up in her verified tab.
And she ain't got nobody else up in that shit but people angry.
I said, talking about how everyone's starting an OnlyFans because you did it first. You did it last. And then broke the platform because you sold pics saying you're doing the most. Ain't nobody following in your footsteps. Apologize to your sex work followers at Bella Thorne. Fun fact, actually really, really sad fact. One time I watched Bella Thorne's assistant cry because she screamed in her face that a grilled cheese she made was too bad and made her make another one. Hashtag SFB, get it trending.
But I want to go through, I guess, some of the things that they pointed out in their video. And when I say they, I mean Tana and co. talking about Bella's music video. Now, the video is called Bella Thorne Made a Horrible Song About Me and we reacted to it. Okay, I find this to be kind of funny. Somebody off camera noted as they're kind of setting up what this video is about, which is watching Bella Thorne's music video, somebody off camera says that the video is literally in 720p. I think that's hilarious because there's so many people, and right now I'm gonna put Bella Thorne kind of in this category of like YouTubers and influencers versus like a real celebrity, because I don't think she is anymore. I don't think that she's at that caliber, but there's this like, when YouTubers put out a music video, there's just like smugness to it. There's like, well, I've got a music video. It's like, yeah, something that you put too much money into and it still came out looking like shit. Like, theoretically, anyone could do that. Do you have an iPhone? Do you have GarageBand? You could do the same.
This is a super quick reminder to like this video and subscribe to my channel if that's something you want to do. If that's not something you want to do, just don't. I'll shut up and start talking now.
That was funny. So here I am kind of like skimming through the parts where Amari's talking about the things that he said to Bella on Twitter. And he did point out, and I know that this is something that I've heard a couple of times, Bella has supposedly gone on to talk about how she's kind of like some sort of pioneer when it comes to OnlyFans. I don't know if perhaps her interpretation of that is that, like, I'm the first celebrity to be on OnlyFans. I don't know that that's true, but also, not that Bella Thorne's ever going to see this, but Bella Thorne, like, you're not a celebrity anymore. So you are no more impressive in terms of your pioneership. Is that a word? You're just following suit to any other YouTuber who started an OnlyFans, in my opinion. But to do what Bella Thorne did, which most of us know, but if you didn't know, Bella Thorne started an OnlyFans, promised raunchy content, and made something like $1 million in a day. And then when she did release these photos to her OnlyFans followers, it was like PG-13 content or something like that, where like there wasn't even anything explicit shown. So a lot of people requested refunds,
and I'll name them,
and that changed how OnlyFans operated as a platform, and it made things more difficult and less convenient for every single creator. They got paid on a less frequent basis to kind of combat the problem with frequent chargebacks and stuff like that. So to kind of alter an entire platform that is really thriving right now, but to alter a platform that is doing so much good for so many people. When I say people, I mean really more like the creators that are moving over there and creating careers over there, to really kind of break that and make everybody on that platform's job more difficult or more inconvenient or just more cumbersome. And then to have the audacity to brag that you're like the first one or that you are anything is just preposterous to me. I think that after that, Bella Thorne's tail should have been between her legs, and it should still be there, and she should be just shutting up. But like I said, I don't think this girl's living in reality, and the fact that I find Tana Mongeau to be more grounded than Bella Thorne is saying a lot. I did notice where Tana pointed out that Bella would be often upset or hateful of Ashley, Tana's best friend. I found that to be a bit upsetting because, as far as I know, like I said, I don't know a ton about Tana Mongeau, but it seems that she and Ashley have been friends for a very long time. And I heartily believe that if you have a problem with somebody's best friend, you should not enter a relationship with that person, because what an awful thing to do, to kind of drive a wedge between your girlfriend and her best friend. Unless something new came up, right? But if it's just the nature of their friendship that bothers you because you're so insecure that you think that your girlfriend is just screwing her friends no matter who they are, like, that's an insecurity. That's a you issue. So I didn't like that. Oh, interesting. So apparently, I didn't pick up on this the first time. Apparently, Bella cast her new girlfriend or sexual partner to play Tana in this video, and Tana made a point that is like, why are you dating a girl who looks enough like me that she could be in a video? And I do remember that one of the lyrics of Bella's song is like, I'm not over it. So that seems apparent. Apparently, like, one of the first people that you see in Bella's music video is the kind of love interest that played in one of Tana's music videos, FaceTime, which, it's like, how small is the, like, influencer scene in LA? Is it really that small? Like, what's the deal with these people? Have they not branched out to their own social circles? It seems like they're, like, still wrapped up with the same people. I can't with Bella's makeup. And I mean, I know like the whole Euphoria thing, is that what the show's called? Euphoria was like, people have been having a lot of fun with Euphoria makeup, but like, this is just, I don't know. Bella, you look dirty. I don't know how else to put it. So far, they've only been watching like 10 seconds of this video, and I've heard the words bitch, tits, and clout. If that's what comes to you when you're writing music, so be it, but don't expect people to take that seriously. Okay, Bella's rapping at this point, and what is life? They're commenting on the fact that like half the people in the video are wearing masks, or like everyone but her's wearing a mask, but they're all kind of there partying with each other, and I think that's a fantastic point. I mean, Amari said something like, at least front like you made this like last year, and like essentially do it without the masks. I think that there's just, it's tacky as fuck, because you know that these people are still like, they're not social distancing, they're not quarantining, they're not following like the proper guidelines. So to just like slap a mask on half the cast while everybody's just kind of like all over each other around a pool or wherever they are, it's just like, aesthetically, it's not good in terms of like, just like cinematically how your video looks. Like it just looks jarring and off, and because it's not just because you have facial masks in your video, but because this is just not how people behave in masks. We are meant to be away from each other and not climbing all over each other and whatever they're doing. So anyway, preaching to the choir, I'm sure. Okay, that's funny. Apparently there's a lyric that said something about Tana tainting her image, and she said, I think the national crime you committed against sex workers did more to tarnish your image or something like that than I ever did, which agreed. This I remember thinking was hilarious. Creative director is Bella Thorne, which I believe they mentioned is her sister. Directed and written by Bella Thorne. And those are, well, as far as what's shown in Tana's video, those are the credits. Yeah, so I just really think that, and well, this one is probably obvious, but if you're going to put out a music video, you're Bella Thorne, you're going to put out a music video, you're going to do one of two things. You're going to help clean up your image a bit. And I don't necessarily mean like the dirty look that she has, but I mean just kind of like whether or not she's in the public favor. No, people don't like Tana Mongeau, but just standing in opposition to Tana Mongeau is not enough to put you in the public's favor. So if you're going to put out a song and a music video, like this is possibly the worst. I'm trying to think. This song and definitely this video is worse than like any song and music video by Trisha Paytas. That's the first thing that came to mind. I'm sure somebody else has put out something equally as bad, but this was that was bad. It's bad. It's bad, but there's no charm to it. There's no charm to Bella Thorne as a person. There's no charm to what she's trying to create. There's nothing redeeming about it. The song is called Stupid Fucking Bitch. That's what she's calling Tana, apparently. And that's what she's making herself out to be with this song and with this video. So why? Like, you made $1 million in a day on OnlyFans. I don't know how much of that you had to give back, but you're doing better than me, and I could have made a better video than that. And those lyrics were just not it. Like, if you're gonna do this again, Bella Thorne, hire somebody. Hire anybody to help you, because that just wasn't it. So I don't really have many other thoughts on Bella. I'm scratching my nose literally because it's like winter and my nostrils get dry. It is not anything more than that. But yeah, I don't really have any other thoughts on Bella Thorne. She just kind of seems like a douchebag. So I asked you guys to go ahead and start sending in questions, especially around these kind of like, YouTube related topics, to feel free to email me your questions. The email address I have set up is hello@helloleesh.com. So that should be pretty easy. Somebody did reach out and ask, how do you feel about Moses and Trisha being engaged? This person also added, Trisha has never been engaged before, and it seems like he has shown her what love is. I know a lot of her behavior comes from her, at the time, undiagnosed borderline personality disorder, which will lead to another question that we'll save to the end. But that's another question that's come up a lot. What do I think of the engagement between Trisha and Moses? I've heard a lot of people say that, like, they don't believe it's real, or it's not something that'll last. I've heard a lot of people express that they're very happy for Trisha. I don't know if that word was audible. Happy for Trisha. In short, to put it briefly, I feel all of those things, but I don't think that it is possible for anybody to sit down and say, I'm so happy for Trisha. This relationship is perfect. It's amazing. It's a good decision for them to go ahead and get married. God bless them. I know that they're going to succeed. Absolutely not. So can we all kind of agree that, like, that's just understood and then give our opinions on the situation? Because we know that this relationship has not always been healthy. That said, I've said this before, it does seem to be the healthiest and most stable relationship that she's been in that we've seen. Over the course of Trisha's relationship with Moses, like I said, we have seen her behavior kind of subdue itself. Of course, she's had some of these breakdowns on the Frenemies podcast, but in general, she's not as problematic as she's been before. She still has these outbursts, of course. She's got these mental illnesses, some diagnosed, some undiagnosed. We're not sure. She doesn't seem to be sure exactly what all of her behavior is attributed to. But given who she is, I am happy for her that she and Moses are engaged. I mean, that happened fast. Granted, I said this earlier in my YouTube career, almost a year ago, that I was interested in what lockdown would do to new relationships. Am I in any place to judge somebody from moving from dating to engaged in less than a year if these people were thrust into lockdown together? So that's not my place to judge. I've never been in that situation before, so how can I say? But that said, I do think that Moses' personality, or honestly, like, lack thereof, maybe, is a good counterweight to Trisha's. They seem happy. And more importantly, I think that I've talked about this a lot, so I'm gonna not gonna go super in depth because we've talked about this on videos on the topic of the Frenemies podcast. But in dating Moses and being on this podcast, Trisha has not just found a work project, or she has not just found a relationship. She now has, I've said this, a built-in family unit and friend group and coworkers. And I think that kind of structure around Trisha Paytas is likely going to be a very, very healthy move for her. So I think to ask how I feel about the engagement between Trisha and Moses really has a lot to do. It brings in a lot of other factors and a lot of other people, and namely, one of those people being Ethan Klein, and really how good he seems to be for Trisha. I've seen a lot of differing opinions about the podcast, but one thing that a lot of people seem to agree upon,
name them,
is the fact that Ethan seems to be very empathic towards Trisha, and in general is just a good friend to her, and is somebody that kind of is helping her, I think is helping her with some of her trust and abandonment issues. She has said before that she's used to, when there's a blow up, she says she self-sabotages. So these meltdowns that we've seen on the podcast, we've seen her do things like this before, in previous relationships and friendships. And those sorts of maneuvers, I believe, are meant to be sort of like a burn it to the ground moment. Like, okay, let's just completely just obliterate this situation so that when I walk out of here, I can feel like this was my decision, or at least partly my decision, and I don't have to feel hurt that this person rejected me. And then Ethan invites her back. Ethan wants to work through these things. Ela has worked through things with her and has made up with her, made amends with her, or allowed Trisha to make amends. And I can only guess that some of that happens between Trisha and Moses, just because we see her doing that with his family members. So I, as your favorite armchair psychologist who has no credentials in the field, I'm just a girl giving her opinions. Yeah, I think that it's quite possible that being around these people, these very like stable and grounded people, these caring people who seem to get her more or less, is helping her to relearn a lot of these like notions in her mind that for most people would not be the case, but because it's Trisha, she kind of creates these self-fulfilling prophecies. And that wasn't super clear. So what I mean is, like, if I have a fight with my boyfriend and one of us storms out of the room, I can feel confident that once we've calmed down, we can return to the conversation and we can work things out. Everything will be fine. And Trisha does not have that same sense of security in most of her relationships, it seems. It does seem like she has a pretty decent, loving relationship with her family members. We don't know everything that's gone on there, but definitely with her previous relationships and previous friends, things, when she burns things to the ground, they're burned. Those bridges are burned and they're gone and they're not coming back. But I think that the Kleins and potentially Moses and even really like even part of the H3 crew, I think they are really kind of teaching Trisha what stability can look like and that it is something that she is deserving of. Whether or not you agree with that is your opinion. I'm not even saying whether or not I agree with that, but I think that is the message that this family is giving to Trisha. So I do think that she fits in well with this family. Now, I'd be interested to see in 6 months or a year if their patience with her and these dynamics, I don't know if they will wear these people down at all, if things might shift because of that. But as of right now, when I say they, I mean Trisha and, like I said, the whole H3 crew, as well as Moses, they've worked through a lot. And if I am to wish the best for Trisha Paytas, and I do, then I'm happy for her to have found a man who loves her as she is. We saw, I like Jason Nash. I wanted that relationship to work, but as an example, Jason really made her feel bad about her weight a lot. Whereas Moses does not seem to be bothered by her weight. In fact, she says at times that like he sabotages any attempt she makes at dieting or anything like that. So I think that is very healthy in a romantic relationship, at least. And for as much as we've seen of this relationship, I do think that it's got the potential to last compared to any other relationship Trisha's had. So I'm curious. Overall, happy for them. They seem very happy. If things change, then they change, and my feelings will probably change about it. But as of right now, I have no reason to believe that it's anything but happy for them. So, and in the last episode of Frenemies, she seemed obviously like she's still on cloud 9. She just got engaged to with a 9-carat ring. But she seems very happy. And so I hope that this is something that kind of like lasts, obviously. But this person kind of segued into another question. And so this is where I'm not going into necessarily more personal things, but just like non-commentary related things. So I will say here, just like I did in the last video, I'm probably going to lose some of you at this point, and that's fine. Like, class is technically dismissed. We're going to be doing some extra credit after this. Like, that was pretty nerdy. But if you haven't taken a look at my Patreon, it's something to check out. I want to make sure that I'm getting the word out in January while it's still January, as we are starting on my Patreon's book club. We are starting a year of Harry Potter that is going to run from February of 2021 to February of 2022. where we will read the entire Harry Potter series and discuss it. I said this in my last video, but I have put out statements and I'm happy to put them out. I think I might have pinned... I don't want to promise that. I've put out statements and I'm happy to share them again in terms of mine and my community's thoughts on J.K. Rowling and compared those thoughts to our thoughts on the Harry Potter series and why and how we've come to the decision to move forward with reading this series. So that community is growing. I love it so much. The book club is only one facet of it. It's actually, I would say, probably a pretty small facet of my Patreon. Really, what makes it is the community itself. It's a really fantastic community. We've got a private channel for people who are either in recovery, struggling with addiction, or know somebody who's struggling with addiction and wants to learn more. We have a private channel to discuss those matters, but the rest is just lots of fun and a good place where you can feel comfortable being yourself and kind of like venting out your problems if you want. We've got channels for venting. We've got a channel for sharing cute and funny pictures and videos of our pets. And I am so proud of the community that we've fostered on my Patreon. So not one that self-promotes a ton, but I should at least let you know that that's what's going on over there. If you want to check that out, it's patreon.com/helloleesh. And we would love to have you, as long as our one rule is don't be a dick. So if you're not a dick, we would be more than happy to have you. So that said, moving on to this question, this person says, in the past, you've said something along the lines of your mental health is not an excuse to be a shitty person. And they note that that is not an exact, verbatim quote. They say that as someone with borderline, also undiagnosed, they have acted out. It's embarrassing to look back on how they would lash out, shout, degrade the ones they cared about, with really low blows, and feeling really guilty after. They've lost many friends in the past with this erratic behavior, and now they hardly recognize that girl that they were, I'm assuming before, I guess, reflecting on this behavior. She says that she was able to find therapy, medication, psychiatry. Amazing. Awesome. Congratulations. That's wonderful. I love hearing that. She says it's not that she doesn't agree with my statement. She would just like some clarification. She says, I feel like I definitely was a shitty person without realizing how much my mental health was affecting who I was within my interpersonal relationships. So she asks for clarification, and she didn't actually say what she wanted clarification around. So I'm going to just kind of make an assumption. What I take from that is, do I still believe people are shitty if their bad behavior is attributed to a disorder like BPD? And one thing I would like to clarify is that I don't necessarily think that these behaviors make a person shitty. I think these behaviors are shitty. If we're talking about like lashing out and hurting people. And it's a really tough one because some of us just have certain disorders that lend their hands to making us behave in shitty ways. And I am not going to backpedal on saying that these behaviors are shitty. So to clarify around that, you're not a shitty person necessarily, but lashing out and hurting other people is shitty. And I've said this so many times, and I'm going to say it again, and it's going to be a running theme throughout my life, but it does really help me put things into a certain sort of structure that helps me and other people understand. But I too have a disease or disorder or whatever you want to call it that caused me to behave in very shitty ways in my past. And we see these things bubble up in our lives. We don't become perfect angels once we get therapy, but we can work on ourselves to the point where we don't make a habit of shitty behavior anymore. And I have had friends with BPD that live with BPD, but have gotten the proper care. It's Sunday and my neighbor's playing the Beatles. If you know, you know. But yeah, I've had friends that live with BPD, but because they have gotten the proper help, they don't make a habit of hurting the people around them. They learn better ways of communicating. And I think that's what it's all about. And I think to try to sugarcoat it and try to say like, oh, that behavior is not bad, it's just a symptom of your disorder. I think some people might go down that route, and it definitely can help you in maybe in areas of really like self-acceptance. But I hold firm on that because I do believe, from the perspective of somebody who struggled with addiction and is now in recovery, you have to face the consequences of your disorder or whatever that causes bad behavior. It is in those consequences that we find recovery. I would venture to say that if you didn't behave in those shitty ways before getting therapy and that you probably wouldn't have gotten that therapy. So I don't think that people with BPD are shitty people. I don't think that people struggling with addiction are shitty people. But do these disorders lend their hands to shitty behavior? Yeah, untreated, oftentimes, yes. And it's not just those, it's a lot of disorders, mental illness in general. And if we were to sugarcoat all of the bad behaviors that we display, not only is that doing a disservice to the people that we're hurting, but we're doing a disservice to ourselves because it's enabling that behavior and prolonging the time between suffering and getting treatment. And so, as harsh as it is, I'm going to continue calling that shitty behavior. I don't say that people are good or bad. I will say that people are shitty or decent. And I will say that I acted in pretty shitty ways before I got sober. And I believe you when you say that you acted out a lot, and that was probably pretty shitty. But the important part is that you're getting help for it. Like, if you can recognize it, that's obviously the first step. One thing that I did want to say, I mentioned in my last video that I would probably be mentioning a doctor by the name of Kirk Honda. You gonna come up here? Oh, look at this. We got a friend. I've started watching a channel called Psychology in Seattle. Atticus, please don't put your ass in the camera. That is like so rude. That this doctor in a video I recently watched talked about essentially the elements that make an effective apology. And I bring this up for a reason. According to him, or the person he was quoting, there were 10 different elements. And one of the... Atticus is like ruining my dress. Like, figure it out, dude. Figure yourself out. One of the factors and elements of an effective apology is giving an explanation for your behavior, but not giving an excuse. And I think that's one thing that I think a lot of us get tripped up on, is that, well, I can apologize for what I've done, but if I say that it was because of my BPD, that sounds like an excuse. And it can, depending on how you frame that apology. I don't know that this chair is big enough for the two of us, dude. Like, Oliver's great with it, and you're making my life way more difficult right now. This is distracting. I need you to go. I love you. Let's cuddle in a little bit. Okay, bye. What was I saying? So I understand the moral dilemma, and I wonder if this is something that you kind of were thinking of when asking those questions. Is it an explanation or an excuse? How do you kind of like find that line? Is it appropriate at all? And what I really liked is that these doctors, when talking about giving an effective apology, say that it is important to be able to recognize the reason that you behaved in the way you did. And so it is not okay to say, like, it wasn't me, it was the BPD. It wasn't me, it was the alcohol. It wasn't. But by being able to apologize and tell the person, like, hey, I'm not excusing my behavior. I think the reason I did this is because as an example, I was really afraid that you were going to leave me. And so I got desperate and lost my temper. Or whatever. By being able to give a brief explanation, it allows the other person to know that you've introspected, so that you, in the future, you can recognize those things and potentially stop that behavior before it happens. So I don't think that it's a bad thing to recognize that we have these disorders, and to make that known to people, especially in situations where we may be hurting people. But at the end of the day, you still need to bear the full weight of those consequences and what you've done to other people. And it is still our responsibility to make that up to people fully. I don't believe that we really get accommodations for that. If you've hurt somebody, you've hurt somebody, and it's not fair that they should just have to like deal because we've got these mental illnesses. Really, all that's going to end up doing is pushing people away from you. We've probably all had people that were willing to just kind of put their feelings aside for us as we struggled with what we struggled with. But oftentimes those people end up getting pushed away because they only have so much bandwidth. And these people need to also care for their mental health and their well-being. So I don't think it's fair to say like, oh, that behavior, it wasn't that bad. It's, it's not that bad when you have BPD, or it's not that bad when you're an addict. It's just as bad no matter what. You just have a reason that maybe explains some of it. So I think there is some good balance in there. I don't know if that's the clarification, the clarity you were looking for. Feel free to email me again. Let me know if I answered that for you. For any of you who may have questions around anything that I've said either today or anywhere else, feel free to email me at hello@helloleesh.com. I'd love to answer your questions in these videos. It really kind of helps me to engage with you guys. I said this in my last video, I'm not the best at asking you guys to support me. So if you have appreciated what I've brought to you today, if you wouldn't mind giving this video a thumbs up, I would really appreciate that. Only if I have provided you something of value. I don't want to ask for thumbs up if this is a shitty video. Like, let's be real. And if you've seen this video and you really like what I bring to the table, or if you've watched a few videos and you find yourself coming back, I would recommend subscribing and maybe turning on notifications and seeing if you want to continue watching my videos. Maybe give that a go. I think it's worth putting out there because a lot of people don't think to do that unless reminded. I know that when I'm watching videos, oftentimes I forget to hit the like on the ones that I like until the creator says, hey, now's the time to hit the like button. So got to make a habit of it. But I appreciate you guys so much for writing in and asking me questions and watching this video, especially if you've watched to the end. So there's probably one of you. So to you, the one person who's still watching, who's not me, thank you for watching to the end. I love you so much, and you will see me in the next one. Bye.